Imagine you walk into a cafeteria, tray in hand, ready to grab some food. The desserts are placed right at eye level, while the healthier options are tucked away in a corner. Without even thinking, you reach for that chocolate cake. But what if things were arranged differently? What if the fruit and salads were the first thing you saw? Would you still make the same choice? This isn't just about cafeterias. It's about how our decisions are shaped by the world around us, often in ways we don't even notice. That's the core idea behind Nudge by Thaler and Cass Sunstein. This book isn't about forcing people to make better choices, it's about making better choices easier. And here's the thing: you're being nudged every single day, whether you realize it or not. From the way grocery stores organize shelves to the way your phone suggests the next video to watch, small changes in design influence what you do. But why do we need nudges in the first place? Shouldn't people just make the best decisions for themselves? Well, that's the problem. We like to think we're rational creatures, but the truth is, we're not. We procrastinate. We forget. We stick with the default option because it's easier. Think about retirement savings. If someone tells you to fill out a form to start saving, chances are you'll put it off. But if your employer automatically enrolls you and you have to opt out instead, you're way more likely to save for the future. The choice is still yours, but the design makes the better choice the easier one. The beauty of nudging is that it works with human nature instead of fighting against it. No one likes being forced to do something, but if we can gently steer people in the right direction, whether it's eating healthier, saving money, or using less energy, why wouldn't we? Think about how GPS works. It doesn't force you to take a particular route, it just shows you the best way to get there. You can still take a detour, but the system makes the smart choice obvious. And nudging isn't just a theory, it's been tested in the real world. In the UK, the government changed the way people sign up for organ donation. Instead of asking, "Do you want to be a donor?" they reworded it to, "If you needed an organ, would you want someone to help you?" That small shift increased donor registrations dramatically. Just a few words can change how people act. So here's a question: what's one area of your life where you could use a nudge? Maybe it's putting healthy snacks at the front of your fridge instead of hidden behind last night's leftovers. Maybe it's setting up automatic savings so you don't have to think about it. Small tweaks, big impact. That's the power of nudging. Ever wonder why it's so hard to break bad habits, even when you know they're bad for you? Why you keep putting off that gym membership, or why saving money feels impossible even though you know future you will thank you? Turns out, it's not just you, it's all of us. And Nudge explains exactly why that happens. One of the book's biggest ideas is that we don't always make decisions like logical, perfectly rational beings. Economists used to believe that people carefully weigh their options and always act in their best interest. If that were true, we'd all save enough for retirement, eat perfectly balanced diets, and never fall for clickbait. But we're not robots. We're humans, and humans make mistakes, predictable ones. Thaler and Cass Sunstein call this the difference between econs and humans. An econ is that rational, calculated decision-maker economists love to imagine. But in reality, most of us are just humans. We're busy, distracted, emotional, and sometimes just plain lazy. And that's why small nudges work. They help real people, not imaginary rational ones, make better choices without making life harder. This is where choice architecture comes in. Everything around you is designed in a certain way, and that design influences your decisions. Think about a grocery store. The essentials, milk, eggs, bread, are always at the back of the store. Why? So you have to walk past hundreds of other items before getting what you came for. That's not an accident, it's choice architecture, and stores use it to nudge you into buying more. But what if we used the same principle for good? What if instead of tricking you into impulse purchases, we nudged people toward saving money, eating healthier, or making more sustainable choices? Take defaults, for example. People love the path of least resistance. When something is set up as a default, most of us just stick with it. That's why automatic enrollment in retirement savings plans is so effective. When people have to opt in, they procrastinate or forget. But if they're automatically enrolled and have to opt out, most won't bother. It's the same reason why Apple's default settings make it super easy to share your data. Most people won't dig through the settings to turn it off. Defaults matter. So if you want to build better habits, design your own defaults. Want to drink more water? Keep a bottle on your desk. Want to read more? Put a book on your nightstand instead of your phone. But sometimes, the problem isn't just about making good choices easier, it's about getting rid of the junk that makes life harder. That's where sludge comes in. Sludge is the opposite of a nudge. It's the red tape, the fine print, the confusing forms that make simple things way more complicated than they need to be. Ever tried canceling a gym membership? Or unsubscribing from a sketchy email list? Companies intentionally make these things difficult because they know most people will give up and just stick with the status quo. Governments do it too. Think about how complicated it is to apply for financial aid, healthcare, or unemployment benefits. Thaler and Sunstein argue that if we want people to make better choices, we need to remove sludge. Some companies are getting this right. Amazon's one-click checkout makes it incredibly easy to buy something, but imagine if returning an item was just as effortless. Now that would be a consumer-friendly nudge. Another way to nudge people in the right direction. Framing. The way choices are presented changes how we react to them. Here's an example. Imagine you need surgery, and your doctor tells you, 90% of people survive this procedure. That sounds pretty reassuring, right? But what if instead, they said, 10% of people don't survive? Suddenly, that same procedure feels a lot riskier even though the numbers are identical. That's the power of framing. This applies to everything from health decisions to politics to marketing. A product that's labeled 95% fat-free sounds way healthier than one that says it contains 5% fat. Same product, different reaction. Smart framing helps people make better decisions without taking away their options. But what if we could go beyond individual choices and nudge society as a whole? That's where behavioral science can be a game changer. Let's talk about social norms. Humans are wired to follow the crowd. If you think everyone around you is doing something, you're more likely to do it too. That's why peer pressure is so powerful. But this can be used for good. A famous experiment found that when hotel guests were told that most people reuse their towels, they were way more likely to do the same. Energy companies have used this trick too. By showing people how their electricity use compares to their neighbors, they nudged customers into using less power. The takeaway? If you want to change behavior, show people what most others are already doing. Want to start eating healthier? Spend time with people who already do. Trying to save money? Follow influencers who talk about budgeting. Social proof is powerful, so use it in your favor. Now, all of these nudges, better defaults, less sludge, smart framing, and social norms are already shaping our world. But they're not just useful for governments and companies, they can work in your own life too. Want to stop doom scrolling before bed? Set your phone to grayscale mode. It's a simple nudge that makes social media less appealing. Trying to get in shape? Instead of making vague plans to work out more, schedule a specific class with a friend. Struggling to save money? Automate your savings so you don't even have to think about it. These are all small, painless nudges that work with your natural behavior instead of fighting against it. That's what makes nudging so powerful. It doesn't force anyone to do anything. It just makes the best choice the easiest one. And when that happens, people make better decisions not because they have to, but because they want to. So, now that you know how nudges shape the world around you, here's a question: what's one small change you could make right now to improve your life? Maybe it's unsubscribing from junk emails so you stop getting distracted. Maybe it's putting your running shoes by the door so you're more likely to go for that jog. Whatever it is, the key takeaway from nudge is simple: small changes lead to big results. You just need the right push. Alright, now that we know how nudges work, how do we actually use them? How can we take these ideas from nudge and apply them in real life, not just in government policies or corporate strategies, but in your day-to-day decisions? The good news: you don't need to be a behavioral economist to start making better choices. You just need to think like a choice architect. Think about the decisions you struggle with the most. Maybe it's exercising regularly, saving money, eating healthier, or just being more productive. Whatever it is, the problem usually isn't a lack of motivation, it's that the environment around you isn't helping you make the right choice. That's where nudging yourself comes in. You can design your own surroundings to make the best option the easiest one. So let's break down how you can start doing that today. First, step 1, identify decision points. Most of the time, we don't even realize when we're making a decision. Have you ever scrolled on your phone for an hour without remembering why you picked it up in the first place? Or walked into a grocery store for one item and left with 10? That's because our environment is filled with hidden decision points, moments where small changes could have huge effects. So start paying attention. Where do you feel the most friction when trying to make a better choice? Do you want to eat healthier but always end up grabbing snacks? Do you plan to read before bed but somehow always reach for your phone instead? Identifying these moments is key, because once you spot them, you can redesign your environment to work in your favor. Step 2, design better defaults. Remember, we humans love the path of least resistance. If the easiest option is also the best one, you'll naturally make better choices without even thinking about it. So how do you do this? Let's say you want to drink more water. Instead of forcing yourself to remember, set a default: always keep a water bottle at your desk or next to your bed. Want to start reading more? Put your book on your pillow so you see it before going to sleep. Want to stop wasting money on impulse purchases? Set up an automatic transfer that moves a small amount into your savings every paycheck before you even see it. The best nudges don't rely on willpower, they remove the need for it. A great real-world example of this: organ donation. In countries where people have to opt in to be an organ donor, participation is usually low. But in places where the default is being a donor and people have to opt out, rates are significantly higher. Same choice, different design, huge impact. If you're serious about making a change, ask yourself, how can I make the best choice my default option? Step 3, simplify and remove sludge. If nudging is about making life easier, sludge is the opposite. It's all those little obstacles that make things harder than they need to be. Ever tried canceling a subscription and had to jump through 5 pages of, "Are you sure you want to leave?" prompts? That's sludge. But sludge isn't just something businesses use to keep customers trapped, it sneaks into our own habits, too. Think about all the steps it takes for you to do something positive. Want to work out in the morning? If you have to dig through your closet for gym clothes, find your shoes, and drive to the gym, guess what? You're way more likely to just hit snooze. But if you remove the sludge, lay out your workout clothes the night before, keep your shoes by the door, and choose a gym on your way to work, it becomes easier to follow through. This works in every area of life. If you want to cook more at home, get rid of the junk food in your kitchen so you don't have to fight temptation. If you want to start a morning routine, set up everything you need the night before. The fewer obstacles, the better. Step 4, provide timely feedback. People make better choices when they can see the impact of their actions. This is why fitness trackers are so effective. They give you instant feedback on how many steps you've taken or how many calories you've burned. When you see progress in real time, you're more likely to keep going. One of the most powerful nudges in recent years was the introduction of real-time energy meters in homes. Instead of getting a bill at the end of the month, people could see how much electricity they were using right now. Just that simple feedback led to significant reductions in energy use, because when people see their waste in real time, they're naturally nudged to cut back. Want to apply this to your own life? Track your habits. Use an app to monitor your spending if you want to save money. Keep a journal of your workouts to see progress over time. The more visible the results, the more motivated you'll be. Step 5. Use social norms to your advantage. Humans are social creatures. We care about what other people are doing. That's why you see restaurants advertising, best-selling dish, or why hotels get you to reuse towels by saying, most guests reuse their towels. When we believe that others are doing something, we're more likely to do it too. So use this to nudge yourself in the right direction. Want to be more productive? Spend time around productive people. Want to start running? Join a running group. Surround yourself with people who already have the habits you want to build, because whether you realize it or not, you'll start mirroring them. This applies to digital spaces, too. If you constantly see financial advice on your feed, you're more likely to make smarter money choices. If you follow fitness influencers, you'll feel more motivated to work out. Your environment isn't just physical, it's digital, too. Finally, step 6, preserve freedom of choice. This is crucial. The best nudges don't take away options or force people into decisions, they just make the best choice the easiest one. That's the beauty of libertarian paternalism, the philosophy behind nudge. It's not about controlling people. It's about giving them the right kind of help while still letting them choose. This is why banning junk food doesn't work. People rebel against restrictions. But if you simply make healthy food more convenient and junk food less accessible, more people will make healthier choices on their own. The same goes for things like saving money, exercising, or reducing screen time. No one likes being forced to do something, but when the better option is effortless, most people will take it. So, here's the big question: what's one area of your life you can nudge right now? Maybe it's unsubscribing from notifications, so your phone doesn't constantly distract you. Maybe it's setting up automatic savings. Maybe it's swapping your junk food shelf for healthier snacks. Whatever it is, start small. The best nudges are simple, effortless, and invisible. Because at the end of the day, small changes lead to big results. You don't need superhuman willpower to build better habits, you just need the right nudges in the right places. So far, nudging sounds like a magic trick, right? Just tweak the way choices are presented, and suddenly, people start making better decisions without even realizing it. Sounds perfect. But here's the thing, no tool is flawless, and nudging has its blind spots. One of the biggest misconceptions about nudge is that it's just harmless guidance. But what happens when nudging is used against us? Think about all the companies designing their websites to keep you scrolling endlessly. Ever noticed how Netflix autoplays the next episode before you even have time to reconsider? Or how food delivery apps nudge you toward extra toppings and larger portions? These aren't mistakes, they're intentional nudges, but in the wrong direction. They're designed to benefit companies, not you. And here's where it gets tricky: who decides what's a good nudge? In theory, nudges should guide people toward choices that make them healthier, wealthier, or happier. But that's subjective. What if a government decides that nudging people into certain political views is for their own good? What if companies use nudging to push customers into expensive, unnecessary upgrades? The line between helpful guidance and manipulation can get blurry fast. Another blind spot. Nudges don't work on everyone. Remember, they rely on human tendencies: our laziness, our love of convenience, our tendency to go with the flow. But what about people who are actively trying to break away from the norm? Entrepreneurs, rebels, creatives, people who challenge the default often resist nudges, or even push back against them. Some studies have shown that when people realize they're being nudged, they sometimes do the opposite out of pure stubbornness. Ever been told what to do and immediately wanted to not do it? That's called reactance, and it can weaken a nudge's effectiveness. There's also the issue of long-term impact. Some nudges work great in the short term but fade over time. Take health apps, for example. Ever downloaded one, tracked your steps religiously for a few weeks, then stopped caring? That's because the initial nudge, the excitement of seeing your progress, wears off. Without deeper motivation or habit formation, nudges alone aren't always enough. So, what's the takeaway? Nudges are powerful, but they're not a perfect fix. They need to be transparent, ethical, and designed with the user's best interests in mind. Governments and businesses should always ask, are we making life easier for people, or just steering them toward what benefits us? And as individuals, we need to recognize when we're being nudged so we can decide for ourselves whether to follow or resist. At the end of the day, nudging is just a tool. It can help, or it can be exploited. And the smartest thing you can do? Pay attention to the nudges shaping your choices, because the more aware you are, the more control you really have. If nudge fascinated you, there's a whole world of behavioral science waiting to be explored. Daniel Kahneman's Thinking, Fast and Slow dives deep into the psychology behind decision-making, explaining why our brains take shortcuts and when those shortcuts backfire. Dan Ariely's Predictably Irrational shows how our choices are often driven by hidden forces we don't even notice. And if you're curious about habits, The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg reveals how small behavioral tweaks can lead to massive personal and societal change. Each of these books connects to nudge in different ways, offering new insights into why we do what we do and how we can do better. If you're ready to take your understanding of human behavior to the next level, these are the books to start with. At its core, nudge is about something simple but profound. Small changes can lead to big results. We like to think we're always in control of our choices, but the truth is, our environment shapes us more than we realize. Whether it's the way food is arranged in a cafeteria, how a form is designed, or the default set on our devices, these subtle cues push us in certain directions, sometimes for our benefit, sometimes not. The beauty of nudging is that it works with human nature instead of against it. It doesn't rely on willpower or discipline, and it doesn't take away freedom. Instead, it makes the best choice the easiest one. That's why governments, businesses, and even individuals can use these principles to create smarter systems, whether it's increasing retirement savings, reducing energy consumption, or just helping yourself drink more water. But the real power of nudge isn't just in recognizing how choices are shaped, it's in using that knowledge to take back control. Once you understand the forces influencing your decisions, you can start designing your life more intentionally. You can set up your own nudges, remove sludge, and create habits that work in your favor. So, here's the final question: knowing what you now know, what's one nudge you're going to put in place today? Because the best time to make a smart change isn't tomorrow, it's right now.